Welcome to Hey Dad Podcast. Real dads, tough issues, and a genuine love for a fatherless generation.
Hello and welcome to Hey Dad Podcast. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Rick Rivera. This is Chris Lawler.
How you doing?
And we're here to just talk about issues that a father would talk about. We want to be an example of men who have a lot of experience in life, raising children, living life, and we want to share our thoughts with you.
You know, our hearts are always for these, the fatherless generation. We're living amongst that.
Yeah.
And that means a lot of guys don't have a dad. They don't have contact with the dad, or if they have one, their relationship is so hampered.
Yeah.
They're kind of going it alone.
Exactly.
And that's a tough place to be, and I don't think God intended that. Not that we can ever stand in for somebody's father, but we want to speak to you with things that come from our experience and at least give you a leg up.
Yeah. So hear us out. Take what you want to take, reject what you want to take, and that's fine. But today's subject, I don't know how many people know of this guy. His name is Rich Cooper. He did a really interesting video. He had a panel of single mothers on a Zoom type format, and he's just talking about the issue is his opinion is men should not date women with children. That's a tough pill to swallow when he says it like that.
Does he have a name for his thought, his philosophy?
I don't know. I know no, I don't. I'm not. I don't know what it's called. I think it's just part of that greater men go their own way movement thing, where it's a very selfish movement of men. It's a call to manhood in a selfish way. And he's in that, but I'm sure he has different takes than the other ones. No two are exactly alike, and they have their opinion. But you know, the thing is, the reason why I think it's important to go through this is he's a very impressive man, and he's saying a lot of things that are true. But he's mixing in my mind, he's almost mixing in where you would put God in your life, which means everything. He puts himself in that seat. And from that perspective, I wouldn't say he's wrong, but from a real life perspective, he's as wrong as you can get.
Can I make a note?
Mm-hmm.
If you might want to stop this for just a moment, because I would hold all the judgment until the end of the show.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Because right away, we're going to kick people off.
All right.
If we're already saying that, look, he's a selfish asshole, then anybody that would have it here.
I didn't say that, Chris.
Yeah, I know. I did. But that's what's going to lose an audience, I think.
I hear you. So
we're going to look at what he has to say.
Okay.
And then we're going to comment, you know.
As Chris said, let me go in there. So we'll just take a look at what he says, and then we'd like to stop the video as it's going through and then discuss that part of it and see what your thoughts are on this. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and start it.
Okay, so far he's introducing this dilemma, whether a man should consider dating or getting involved with a single mother.
Yeah, he's calling it a red flag for women. Well, a red flag for men about women.
Yeah, to stay away from that.
Stay away from that, right?
And of course, some of the women on the panel are saying, well, what's the difference between us dating somebody that is a single father,
right,
not married but has a kid? So he's about to make a case for either way.
Right.
Very pragmatic. I mean, that's one thing I'll give him. He's pragmatically looking at the difficulty that lies ahead statistically.
Right.
That, it's going to be complicated. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'll give him that much. Mm-hmm. The thing I just want to the thought I want to put alongside his thought is that in relationships, complications are going to come out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. I mean, people get sick. You have your own kid, and your kid turns out to be a complete chore.
Yeah.
And the wild cards are plentiful in the deck. You can marry somebody and have a kid that you totally get along with, and you bond, and it's wonderful.
Right.
So I think this is the outset, and we're going to listen to more, but I think there are alternate ways to look at this problem. But let's
hear him out, right?
Yeah, let's hear him out.
Let me just pause that. He says an interesting subject there. He says women will disqualify men for different reasons as well. He doesn't look like he'll be able to provide for me. He's too fat, too thin, too whatever. Right. So it's a fair case to say women have their things they judge men on, and they'll disqualify men as well, right, as they see fit.
Yeah, and I think you make a very good point in that when you go into a room with men and women in the room, and many of them single, their lives are every version of complication. Right. Yes, it's wise to not put yourself into an obvious situation that you're not capable of dealing with. Right. Okay, that's not necessarily a selfish thing to do. That's kind of a wise thing to do. In many ways, you're doing a favor to that person by not dragging them down a rabbit hole of nothing but trouble. Mm. So I'm with the guy on that point. Mm-hmm. We're going to listen a little bit further and discover what his criteria is for judging those situations. That's why I think I take issue.
You know what, though? I do want to put this pre-qualifier in. My wife, I married a wife with a son. She had a son from a previous marriage. I ended up adopting him. And I know you have a similar story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my wife had a young daughter.
Yeah.
And we're not doing this show to justify us, but we're saying that we have experience in a lot of different ways these things work out.
Yeah, we've been down this road. So we're not coming from a perspective of not understanding and just judging from a distance. We're hearing them out, and we can what do you call it? Put it against the truth test in our own lives as well.
Yeah.
But also from our own perspectives, and that's the key thing about this whole thing I'd like to get into later. Okay, so he says some interesting things here, and I put some notes about this. He says, I'm going to have to hear about her dealing with the children. That's a negative, he says. I'm going to have to pay for them if we go out to eat or go skiing.
Right.
What's your experience with that? Is that true?
Well, the man, it depends on how in your marriage you manage roles. In this modern age, everybody is looking everything straight down the line, 50-50, wife making the money, husband making the money, and everything's negotiated in between. That's a miserable way to live, in my opinion. I'm from a traditional outlook where when I became married, I took on the entire responsibility. Mm-hmm. I took it on. Not because I wanted to dominate my wife. I just understood that that's going to be my role. Mm-hmm. And that my wife is going to have a role of in a very different arenas that I can't necessarily, I'm not the best choice for. Mm. I'll put it that way.
That's interesting.
So yeah, it did pay the bills.
But you see it as you stepped into a role, and here I am.
Yeah,
see,
and it was my honor to pay the bills.
That's how I saw it too. Like there was 3 of us when we started, and if we didn't have enough money to go out and eat, it wasn't like, okay, we'll go because we could afford the 2 of us, not the 3rd child. No, we were in it together. We were a tribe at that point. Yeah. There was no separation, and I think if as a man who marries a woman with a child, you say, well, you pay for your son. Oh my gosh, dude, what are you even doing there with that attitude? You need to man up and take the roles and take the responsibilities. It doesn't always mean you're going to come out dollars and cents better, but in life you're going to come out better. And the child will come out better, and your wife will be better for it too as well. Yeah,
I'm smiling because it seems like Rich Cooper is buying a used car. Okay, and he has every right to kick the tires.
Yeah, he's every right,
see what I'm getting myself into, give me the Carfax and see where this thing has been.
Yeah.
And if you guys that are following Rich, if that's your way of thinking, more power to you. Go for it.
I would say hear our warning out on this one, though, because I think this is a lifestyle, a way of thinking that leads to a very bad end, and I'll explain more about that a little as we go. But he said something really telling, too. He said in this, you're going to be putting time into her kids instead of putting a dent in the universe. Okay, I have to say this. So get rich, take good care of yourself. Me. It's all egocentric to me. It's all narcissism to me, honestly. And so what you're saying is, I'm going to focus on me, and sprinkled with me on top, and with a cherry looking just like me on top of that.
Right.
The problem with that, though, is, okay, he puts a dent in the universe. How does he win? By beautiful cars, a beautiful home, a boat? Okay, do any of those things keep the demons away at night? And when you're on your deathbed, are any of those things going to come comfort you? I heard a woman, she was a nurse who did hospice care. Very interesting discussion. And she was talking about how people their end of life is. And they said, well, how is it for people? She said, well, it really depends on how they live their life. She said, some people are very selfish. They live lives that, don't generate a lot of love. And so she says, those people usually die alone. And she says, but then there's others who love people love them. And she said, all day long in their last days, people are visiting by their bedside, crying, laughing. They're just, and they're just flooded with visitors to see them to the end. That says a lot. That says a lot how you lived your life. And so I just think you're talking about putting a dent in the universe. Why? Because I bought a house? Because I have a boat?
That's your big dent.
That's a dent, huh? Yeah. I prefer the dent that you spoke into people's lives. You loved people, you loved children, and they're going to continue on and on. Like, I always felt cheated by my wife, and I jokingly told her this. Most of my career, I was opening imaging centers, and then I'd staff them, right? And then I'd go on to open another one. So these are centers you really take pride in. They're expensive, very beautiful equipment. And then the thing is, though, one time I went to an office at 15 years after I opened it, and I'm already working for another company, but for work reasons, I had to go to that office. And I was sad how worn down the office looked after, I think it was about 17 years. The carpet was ratty, the outside had graffiti, now the equipment's not new equipment anymore. Now it's, old equipment in the medical industry. And it was really it was a rundown place. And I thought to myself on the way home, I said, you know what? I'd opened these centers with a huge amount of pride in these centers, newest equipment and all this stuff. I go, but in 20 years, they're outdated, old, and beat up.
Yeah.
My wife speaks into my children's lives. That's what my wife was, a full-time stay-at-home mom. She speaks into my children's lives. They're going to remember her all their days. They're going to impart that onto their children. Even those relational things she gets with them, we're going to see in Kingdom Come. We're going to be in heaven together with those memories. And it makes me think like, wow, am I gypped or what? The big supposed cool things of, I put this imaging center and it has this and this and this in it. Kind of so what? The relational things are the things that are the most important in life.
The other thing that's kind of cruel in a reality is you can never make a big enough dent.
Exactly.
There's always somebody else made a bigger dent than you.
Yeah.
So you're going to be chasing that dent.
Yeah.
If you set yourself that's my mission in life.
Yeah.
You're going to be chasing that rabbit all through your life, and you're never going to get there.
Yeah.
And the people that will get damaged that you'll run over to chase that dent.
Yeah.
Those are the things you got to think about. Yeah. Think about what Rich is saying. Think about all that. But also think about, what do you want to bring to life?
Exactly.
When I married my wife and she had a daughter, I knew that it wasn't going to be simple.
Right.
I knew that it was going to be awkward and difficult. And yes, it was awkward and difficult. But I also saw my wife plowing through life alone with a daughter, trying to get a grip on life, trying to mean something, and having to send her daughter off to daycare every day.
Yeah.
So she could work at a job.
Yeah.
I saw a place where, man, I can make a difference here.
Yeah.
I can step in and I can immediately make a difference. And it wasn't to take pride in the difference I would make. I saw a place where I could pour my life and my assets out and give to another person and make them thrive, make them both thrive. And even with all the complications.
And that's your dent in the universe.
That's my dent.
That's a real dent in because it's funny, in my family, we'll speak of great-great-grandfathers and their traits. Mm-hmm. How many generations is his name going to get repeated?
Yeah.
Think about it. Because there's an old saying, and I see it different, but it said on earth, you die two deaths. Your first death, your physical death, and your second death is the last time someone speaks your name.
Yeah.
If you're talking about the bigger picture dent in the universe, that selfishness doesn't equate to that, your legacy.
It's not about the size of the dent.
It don't matter.
I mean, right now, look, Rich has got a bazillion followers. We have next to nothing.
Nothing.
We're just a couple of dads here speaking into a camera, hoping that one guy listens to us.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we're not comparing anything in that respect. He has won the rewards of his hard work.
Yeah.
And I have to give him, I have to salute that. You got what you wanted. You caught what you chased.
I'll give him this much. He's in great shape.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got to give him that. I'll give him those. But I think what he puts as that dent in the universe, that's where the crucial flaw in this is. Because he's saying a lot of things that are true if you're honest and pragmatic about it.
Right.
But there's a great, I don't want to say deceit because I don't know his intentions, but there's a great error in this thinking.
It's just if your head gets turned by the lifestyle that he has, you're going to miss a lot. And you're going to leave a lot on the table.
Of what's important, what really matters. Yeah. Okay, we'll continue.
All right. For one, it's amusing to me is pulling his theology from Disney movies. But I'll tell you what, in nature, the males always kill the children when they come to mate. Oh. They're murderous. Yeah. All right. And it's for the exact same reason. It's because they want to be the alpha. They want to be the ones that have their seed.
Right.
That's the law of the jungle, Mm-hmm. So there's your supporting fairy tale for Rich's attitude.
Yeah. Interesting. So one thing he says, and I can't attest if it's accurate or not, that if a woman dates a man with children, she will not play that caregiver role towards the children.
Right. So she won't nurture.
It doesn't sound right to me because I find women very nurturing.
It's like we're not out of cans. We're not products that have been marketed and we're always going to be the same way. Totally depends upon the person.
Yeah.
Depends on the woman. But what's fair to say is, yes, it's going to be complicated.
Going to be complicated.
Yes, it's always going to be difficult. There's always going to be, you're not really my mom. You're not really my kid. Right. And sometimes it can get ugly, complicated.
I can see too, especially if an ex comes around bringing drama to your wife. Well, that's not your ex-wife anymore. That's my wife. And I can see where there'd be conflict there. Well, I didn't have to suffer through that, luckily. So
in my marriage, my daughter, Jessica, who was Susan's child, about 4 or 5 years old, somewhere around there when we got married, right? Mm-hmm. She very bonded with her original father. That marriage fell apart, but her heart was broken because she didn't know anything other than to bond with this man. Mm-hmm. I saw that, and what I saw as I saw myself, because I am a child of divorce as well, and I was bonded to my dad, my stepdad. And when he left, I didn't want to have anything to do with any other man that my mom would date.
Right.
Did everything in my power to break it up. Right. You see a lot of that in Disney movies too. Right. But the point is, I understood what Jessica was going through. And so my play was not to demand that she step up to the line and deliver to me the daughterly responsibilities that I expect. I understood her. Mm-hmm. She didn't want to call me dad. She called me Chris. All growing up, all through high school, I was just Chris to her. Mm-hmm. And I let that be. I didn't demand her call me dad because I knew dad meant her original father.
Right.
And I know that her heart was bonded. But I'll tell you what the end of the story is. Now she's 40 plus years old. She loves me.
Yeah.
She loves me, and she attributes almost every aspect of her upbringing that turned out in quality to me.
Right.
And my involvement.
Right.
And I'm totally dad to her now.
Yeah.
But I had to make room.
Yeah.
I had to allow for the difficulty and work around it. It's the old adage of the oyster. You get a little sand in there, the irritation causes a pearl to grow.
Yeah.
Okay? And it ends up being some of the most special thing about me.
Yeah.
Same thing with my handicapped son, man. There's complications going to come into you, whatever relationship you got, even if you start off with a stone cold virgin, if you can find one in this day and age, you're going to have complications. It's not, well, what's the best if you can see the complications coming at you, it might be wise to check. But once you're in, you're all in.
Yeah.
You're all in. And that means you got to become whatever is needed in the moment, no matter where it takes you.
That from my perspective is a little bit different of a story. And I say luckily, and I don't know if that's the right word to use, but for me, my son's, I call him my son. He is my son because I also adopted him. That dad was completely out of the picture. No, nothing. Not a phone call, not a letter, not an email, nothing. So it was kind of a lot easier for me. I became dad. I adopted him because I didn't want him not having a history. You know, I didn't want him not having the same last name as any future brothers and sisters we were going to have.
Right.
So I adopted him, and I took the very much the father role young on. But then again, I was in his life. I think he was just 2 turning 3 when I came into his life like that. So it was a lot easier too. He was younger. And then there was no one else I had to compete with or in any kind of way, you know. So in a way, I think I kind of got off easy, but maybe I'm wrong. I didn't have to deal with the ex. I didn't have to deal with the, fights and arguments and getting there late to drop the kids off during transition and all that stuff, you know.
Right.
So I didn't have to deal with that. Did you have to deal with the father and the visitations and all that?
Yeah. John was his name, John 5. Mm-hmm. He would come around. He was a great guy.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I told my wife, says, if I would have met him before you, I might have married him. That guy was a star. He was Rich Cooper.
Okay.
He was this guy full of success, but editing with a cruel knife the things that didn't work in his life.
Wow.
Including, his wife, and his daughter.
Yeah.
He just kind of cut them out, put them on the side in a place where he could conveniently visit whenever it suited him.
Right.
And that was his play. But beyond that, incredibly charming, dashing, fit, and traveling the world.
Oh, wow.
Having it all. So, man, he was putting the big dent in the world. But I was the one that was pulling the load of responsibility he left behind.
Right. It's funny, though, like you're talking about with your daughter. My gosh, I love my son. I'm so happy he's in my life. We watch football together. We have he's married and he has 2 children. His grandchildren are, my gosh, the joy of my life. I love those boys. I mean, I get so much out of it. That dent in the universe he's talking about, man, I got a dent in a universe with my son and his family, and I love them dearly, and they make my life so much richer.
Well, that's the joy that John never got to taste,
right?
Is what it is to spill your life out.
Yeah.
Just give your life away and let the return come back.
Yeah.
Because as long as you're holding and you're going to budget, and I'm only going to give that much and that much, all of life is simply a marketplace where everything is negotiated. And you either get screwed in the deal or you come out a little bit ahead and screw somebody else. But it's a cruel and vicious way to go.
Yeah.
I remember we went to the LA Zoo one time when Jessica was like 6 years old. And I had got to the place where I could pick her up and put her on my shoulders. And that was kind of like my way of walking around with her, and she could ride the horse and all that. I didn't know, but that was her thing with John too.
Oh.
So we both show up at the zoo. Susan's there. It's a day with Dad and me there, and we sort of competed for who could carry around Jessica on their shoulders the most during the day. I don't think that little girl's feet ever touched the ground the whole afternoon.
That's so awkward, though, Chris.
But it was so awkward and funny. But it's, you know what it is? It's a pearl now. That memory is a pearl of awkwardness, but it makes me smile. We laugh about it. Everybody who was there loved that story.
Yeah.
I don't know how John thought about it at the end.
You know what's funny, though? Going into a marriage with a child, my love for my wife went beyond my wife and went for her son at that time.
Yeah.
So I loved my son. And this is going to sound weird, but I never had any resentment towards the biological father or anything like that. I felt sorry for him. I felt like, dude, you missed everything. What did you trade it for? I know you're not happy now. The other thing is I never felt any resentment, never felt angry. And I even had feelings for him because he brought one of the most important things in my life to me. Mm-hmm. And so in a way I guess I'm saying this for anyone who's struggling with any resentment towards the biological father or anything like that. You can't hate them. Don't allow that, because if you love the child, that's part of the child too.
Right.
You have to open your heart and feel sorry for them, because their shortcomings, believe me, the kids are going to wake up one day to understand fully.
Here's the thing that I want you to, we're going to listen a little bit more to this guy, but the thing that's the most important in my mind for you to hold in your mind, young guys, as you're considering this philosophy, Rich Cooper's philosophy, or the philosophy that we're kind of putting before you, those difficult difficulties that you encounter in a relationship, in whatever form they take, they bring something out of you that you can't bring out of yourself.
Yeah.
They cause greatness to grow up out of you.
Yeah.
A guy that edits all the difficulties out of his life, like Rich is talking about, they never taste that.
Right.
They are exactly what they are. They never grow. They never become anything different. Mm-hmm. I witnessed that with my daughter's real father, is that he pretty much maxed out a couple years after I married his wife. He never really became anything different. Never grew to anything else.
Right.
And he had a couple of different chances to matter to somebody along the way, at least that we could see.
Right.
But he never played it. He never played that card. Where by taking that responsibility on for my daughter and all the other things that have happened in life, my handicapped son, and all the stuff that happens, so much has grown up out of me that I had no clue I would be capable of.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to miss out on.
Yeah. It's a crazy ride with highs and lows. The one thing too that kind of what I feel bad, this guy, Rich Cooper, he's a very impressive man, and I'm sure he's wealthy. He's very impressive. The only thing is that what if his wife got sick? Like he's talking about the burden of a child.
Yeah.
Well, what if his wife got cancer or Alzheimer or dementia?
Right.
Does that attitude or egocentric thinking, does that give to yourself to take care of your partner? Right. Or do you move on?
Yeah, right. What happens when the used car breaks down?
Yeah, now this is
you
hard.
Shove it out, you take it to the junkyard and you get another used car.
Exactly. So what are you giving the woman now? The good looks, like we talked about this with women, they only go so far and they fade eventually. We all get old. I just wonder what kind of stick-to-itiveness will he offer the woman he's with? I even hate to say this because I'm sure he loves his children, but maybe even his children. How much?
Well, look what a dangerous world we would be creating if all men looked at their relationships this pragmatically.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, what if you were raised in a house where you were judged every single day by your pragmatic value to the industry that you were part of? Mm-hmm. I mean, we would be raising Klingons,
right?
And that's not the way I was raised. And I hope to God that you young guys think about that as well.
Yeah.
Go into it with your eyes open, but once you make that deal, carry on with your eyes half closed.
Exactly. And the one thing is, I think he's really missing the calling of a man. In our calling, we find a lot of purpose. That's a big thing. Yeah. A lot of people struggle. Yeah. Why am I here? What's my purpose? But part of our purpose as men is God has called us into a priesthood to rule over our families, care for them, love them, take care of them.
And that doesn't mean dominate our families.
I'm not talking about that at all.
That means care for,
yeah.
Be the gardener that nurtures every single aspect of your family and make them all thrive.
Exactly. Do encourage them, bless them, pray for them. But in doing so, when you're pouring your life out into your children and your family and even your stepchildren or adopted children, when you're pouring your life, that love comes back, but you also have purpose. Your life has meaning. It has purpose. If the purpose is becoming popular or making a dent and having stuff, I'm sorry, dude. I mean, how many new cars have you had in your life? I have had quite a few. Right. They get old, dude. None of that stuff matters. None of that. So it's living out your purpose as a man. God has called us to be men for women, to be men for daughters, for sons, to be men in our cities, in our county, in our state. The United States of America, our states and our cities need men to step up. And these are men who live sacrificial lives.
Sacrificially.
You're not being the sucker. You're serving your purpose as a man as you were created by our Creator. You're serving your purpose. You're doing what's right. And you stand up against evil and you do good. That's the calling of a man. But when we look at it as, it's about me and how good of a shape can I get into and how kind of dent I can make in the world and what can I buy, man, you're missing the entire boat. See, I have to say, I appreciate the way this guy talks. He's very well-spoken, very intelligent. And I even like that he's not disrespectful to the women, although what he's saying is harsh, but he's not being disrespectful to them. I appreciate those things in him. But man, is he missing the target. And as impressive as a man as he is, I feel sorry for him. Dude, you're missing the target. on your deathbed, the stuff you put value in doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And the things you chose not to put value in are everything.
I look at these women that are on the screen, and my heart just breaks for every one of them. Mm. Every one of them. I see the hardship. I see the difficulty. I see the nobility of them trying to persevere.
Yeah.
And everything in my heart wants to leap out and see what kind of a difference could I make.
Yeah,
I'm already married,
Exactly.
I'm off the shelf. I'm no longer available. But man, it's hard to turn that off in the face of that kind of need. And I'd rather be that kind of man.
I'd way rather be.
I want to be that kind of man that wants to step in and make a difference.
Yeah.
Now, look, I'll be truthful. If I would have seen everything that was going to happen in my life after I got married, man, I might have thought long and hard before I stepped onto that boat.
Right.
But that's why God doesn't let you see all those things. Because if you really saw everything, this race would have died out 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. We don't see. It's veiled because that's not the picture. Look at the difficulty is in the picture when the children of Israel went and scoured the land for the first time.
Yeah.
God sent them out to go and take a look at this land, this promise you're going to get. All they saw were the giants.
Yeah.
Because they went in and they saw all the difficulty and they saw the giants and then they saw themselves. We're like grasshoppers in front of them.
Right.
Okay? Of course the deal was sour at that point. What they missed was the opportunity to grow into something that has never been seen on the earth.
Yeah.
Nothing, never seen on the earth. Okay, go ahead.
To move and to fulfill their purpose that God had for them.
Yes.
And that's the sad thing is that's where the bait and switch on this thing is I feel it's strong. Like, I'm going to put all this effort into me.
Yeah.
And you're going to be alone. And loneliness is a horrible thing to face. I want to say this because I do think...
You could have orgasms every single day with all different kinds of women. You're going to find out that it has nothing to do with curing the loneliness.
Well, exactly. I mean, so that's where I think this kind of thing is very dangerous. And I want to be fair to men because I think sometimes when we talk about these issues, we leave out, there's men who have been very hurt by trusting and loving women. I want to give it to you guys. I'm not taking nothing away. And then comes bitterness. Sometimes women treat you really bad or did you so wrong. And there's a bitterness in you. And then when you hear talk like this, it's like, that's it. He's right, and from a world from being selfish, he is right. I would say dare to love again. I would say, guys, don't give up. I think the key really, though, is in picking the right woman. And I really think we should make that upcoming episode because there's traits that, man, you need to run from.
Right. Well, it starts by picking the right tribe to be a part of. This guy's tribe is all about himself.
Yeah.
Okay. The tribe we're talking about are men that will watch a man give his life away, have it turn out all bad, and rise up again. And when he rises up again, all I wanted to do is rattle my sword against my shield and shout his name in honor.
Yeah.
Because that's the tribe that we're going to be a part of.
Exactly. Get back into it with purpose.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go on now.
It seems like Rich seems to think that women are chasing him. Like all these women he has on the panel, yes, I'm a catch, and you would all be chasing me.
He does have that in him. Yeah. You can tell he's vain. He takes care of himself. He dresses nice. He's got that side to him.
Yeah, but he's showing the side that he's also showing another side that tells all these women, you ain't worth chasing at all.
Yeah.
In fact, the worst thing would be to catch you.
Yeah, that's it. I don't like putting value on people that way. I really don't. I mean, but see, this is the dangerous thing about some of these conversations is there is truth to what he's saying, and we admit that. You go into a relationship with someone who has a child, there's going to be more complication, and that's true. But I think the big difference with us, what we're saying is, hey, man, that pays off. It has beautiful potential, and for others, for those who reject it, I think they really lose out on something.
Yeah. So Rich has got money. Maybe he has, an athletic frame. We'll give him that. He has no hair. He looks like a 70-year-old from the neck up. So, if that's the way he wants to be judged on that, great. Score your points. That's what you are. You look at your bank account. That's worth that many points.
Yeah.
But what woman wants to tie themselves to somebody that is so self-centered and self-aggrandizing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
I think every one of these women's head would be turned. And see, this other guy that hasn't spoken at all, Moff, I have no idea what he's all about.
No idea. Yeah.
But I'm going to give him a personality just because he hasn't spoken at all.
We'll help him.
If Moff on the other side of the screen was the kind of guy that would care and nurture for the heart of a woman and have 1/10 of the bank account that Mr. Cooper has on the other side, those women are going to go after that guy. They're going to go after a guy of character, a guy that shows love and concern that will lift the load as best as they can, as mighty as they can. They're going to want to go through life with a person like that.
Yeah, not to see what's a blessing as a curse, not to see it as contamination, but understand that it could be something very beautiful. I'm talking women with children and children coming into your lives. Man, our relations with people are really one of the most important things on earth. And you're going to walk away because you're looking for a certain class that meets your class. Well, I have a feeling anyone who's going to be drawn to that class is going to be as egocentric as he is. And I'll pass on that type of relationship, you know?
Right.
I'll pass on that. And it's okay to come in and be a man to a son or daughter who needs you. That's you know, like I've had mentors in my life because I didn't have a father figure per se. I had mentors step in, men who, they took me camping. We were within the church, so we did a lot of ministry. And man, why did these guys waste their time? Why did they buy me dinner when all of us were out somewhere? Why invest in me?
Right.
You know, why?
Yeah, a guy like Rich Cooper is a hunter-gatherer. Okay, he has no interest in farming or raising his own crop. He just wants to harvest as many women as he can for his purpose. Yeah,
what's his payoff? Like, what does he see as like me making that dent or becoming big?
Yeah.
Becoming more known, become more popular, having more stuff?
I know, and the more women that he is able to snag and catch, the cheaper they become.
Yeah.
Even in his eyes.
You know, it's interesting.
He's better off with a blow-up doll with get some artificial intelligence connected to it. And then you can just live in your own little world.
It might work for him, honestly.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. When I was in my 40s, right around your 40s, you really start thinking about mortality and death and like that. And I never went through that midlife crisis. I've always had comfort in God. But it made me start thinking for a period where I went to a few funerals. I went to 3 funerals. And in all 3 of those funerals, I was carefully paying attention to what they said about that person's career, because I've always been very into my career. My wife was always had to help me find balance. So I'm listening, and between 3 funerals, I counted how many words. There were 4 words total spoken about their careers.
Wow.
Now, they had other people up for long periods of time talk about what a beautiful uncle they were, what a beautiful father they were, how they loved them, how they helped them. They were saying all these wonderful things, but only 4 words for their career.
Yeah.
What really matters?
And probably nobody read their tax returns.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. And it just really brought everything into focus.
Yeah.
You know, like, okay, I see the relation's important. Yeah. You know, and to give yourself I believe in men should live in a sacrificial way. And we do get the short end of the stick sometimes, and I can't deny that. But that's okay. That's our purpose.
Yeah, that's what we're saying. And the reality is we're not really knocking on Rich Cooper. I mean, he's out there and is making his stuff public. That's fine. I'm only playing by the rules he set. Mm-hmm. So we're out here making an alternative public.
Yeah.
And answering to that. What I'm trying to do is talk to you young guys that are standing at the crossroad. Should I go this way, the Cooper way, or should I be a man of God? One way or the other. What's going to pay off in the long haul?
Yeah.
And all I can tell you is, man, you don't have any idea what you can become. You may plan what you think you're going to get, and maybe you'll get it, and maybe you won't. Mm-hmm. And how much will you hate yourself if you don't rise to the level you think you deserve? But if you give yourself over to pouring your life out for somebody and meaning something to a family, meaning something to a wife for all the years of her life, through all the body changes that take place, being faithful, something is going to grow within you that you never even conceived of. That's why I'm advocating for you to think about that.
Yeah. Yeah, think twice. And I think especially for younger guys, you hear an older man say something with so much confidence and so eloquently, it sounds very true. Well, here's some other older guys saying some other things, you know what I mean? Like just to give you some contrast on life. Yeah.
I will tell you, I'm getting dinged by my son.
Okay, so we'll call it here then.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Well, we'll call it here, and we hope you liked the message. I hope you heard what we said.
If you hate it, throw the hate mail at us.
Yeah, hate mail's fine.
We love hate mail.
Yeah, you learn not to care. You learn to care a lot less the older you get. So we're comfortable with it. Yeah. So with that being said, Chris, can you pray us out?
Lord, you see it all. You see what's a profitable way to go through life and what's not. I just pray that you would light up the pathway before whoever is watching this show and show them the way that they should go. I bow to your wisdom, Lord. You know. In the name of Jesus.
Jesus.
Amen.
Amen. All right, guys. Take care and God bless you.